This is a video of me building and installing a cattle guard. A cattle guard is basically a bunch of pipes that have been welded up parallel with gaps in between, and the cows are afraid to walk over it. Cattle guard I've already put in, and you can see these cows aren't following me through. First thing I'm going to do is cut up some C-channel. It's 8 inches wide. I'm going to cut it into 5 pieces that are 96 inches long. I got the pipe at our local feed store. They sell lots of different kind of pipe, and they had this 4.5 inch pipe. The pipe is double what it was 3 years ago when I built the other cattle guard. Sometimes this recent 4% inflation just doesn't really add up. I'm using my trusty Hypertherm plasma cutter to cut the pipe up into 14-foot sections. And that yellow thing you saw me use is a marking gauge that's good for coping and just making straight cuts in pipe. I'm using the boards and C-clamps to make sure that any measurements and squareness are locked in before I put the pipes on it. I measure the diagonals once, needs a little bit of adjustment, and I'm going to confirm that everything's good to go and this thing is nice and square. I didn't weigh one of these pipe sections, but I'd guess they weigh about 150 pounds each. They're pretty heavy. Here I'm stamping a chalk line on the concrete so I can get all the C-channel lined up in a straight line. And now I'm marking the correct spacing of the C-channel on the floor. First piece of pipe was the hardest. Had to get everything just right, making sure this is in the right spot, making sure that it's the right distance from the C-channel, and it's about time to weld this thing up. I'm using 70-18 rods, 1/8 inch thick, with an Everlast 300 stick welder. I used a round bar slug at each weld. It required twice the welding, but I could get a good fillet weld of the C-channel to the round bar and then a good fillet weld of the round bar to the pipe, versus what would have been a pretty difficult and probably pretty weak weld. Here I'm doing a visual inspection, making sure that all the C-channel is pretty much in the same plane. I don't see any humps or lips or anything, so it looks like everything's ready to go. So I'm going to finish welding the first pipe up to the remaining C-channel. Now I'm welding the pipe onto the other side. This is much easier as everything's pretty much already lined up. My back decided I didn't want to manhandle these pipes anymore. So now I'm using the gantry crane. It's easier on the back, but it still takes some effort. An electric hoist is a luxury, but man, it sure is nice and convenient. I'm putting in the final pipes, and you can see I welded this piece of pipe along the edge to make sure that everything lines up. I'm welding the pipe to the inside pieces of C-channel. So I'm placing the slugs first, and then I'll go back and weld one side all the way across and then come back and weld the other side. I probably went through 25 to 30 pounds of rods building this cattle guard. Welding the cattle guard is basically done. So it's time to work on where this thing is going. The front yard of our house has a pipe fence that I've previously built. Check out the video on the upper right of me building this fence. The cattle guard is a continuation of this fence, so we can drive right over it and not have to open any gates, and keep the cows out of the front yard. This mark is like the origin of the project, or where I'm going to base all the elevations from. I'm doing some rough markings on the road. This will be so I can use the skid steer to pull up this road base and dig the hole for the cattle guard. Road base is like $180 a truckload, so it's not cheap. So it's definitely worth saving. So I'm going to put it off to the side where I can use it later when I have the cutter guard finished. Now I'm using a root bucket attachment on the skid steer to break up the ground. The road base is really hard and compact from many years of usage. A regular dirt bucket would just skid over the top, but this root bucket does a great job. Now I can move the broken up ground out of here with a regular dirt bucket. I know it looks like gravel, but this is just black land clay that's pretty dry, and so it comes up in these chunks. If it rained on it right now, these chunks would turn into a mushy goo, and this skid steer would probably get stuck. This is my attempt of making skid steer ASMR. Maybe I can start a second channel on ASMR and be a star or something. So satisfying.
Please hit that subscribe button. Please give me a thumbs up. Please leave a comment down below.
Excavation is done. Now I'm moving on to building the concrete forms for the footings. I'm going to build the footings near my shop and then move them over to the hole. Luckily OSB prices are back down to sort of normal.
I'd like to introduce my extremely hot assistant. She told me if I don't get my butt out of the house and do this, she's going to leave me, so I had to get to work. Ready, helper?
I'm ready.
This is one of the L-shaped forms for the footings.
His first appearance.
Yeah. Limping through. Ready?
We think our Weimaraner got bit in the foot by a rattlesnake. It swelled up pretty big, but he's now made a full recovery. Yes, I know my wife should be wearing safety glasses, but you know, good help's hard to find. Just kidding, I'm a pretty lucky guy. Here's the two forms, and the cattle guard will lay in between them when the concrete's poured. I've got the spacing set and bracing on there to make sure everything's square. So it's time to put the forms in the hole. A skid steer and the right attachments definitely makes pretty much anything easier. I'm going to use that string to set both the position of the forms, make sure that it is the correct height, and that piece of tape with the mark shows the center line of where the form should be. I'm using a pair of come-alongs to set the height of the forms. I'm inching it up, making sure it's level, and making sure that it's the correct distance from the string. The goal is for the center of the first pipe on the cattle guard to be in line with the existing fence, so that's why I'm moving this thing side to side. I've got the position and the height correct. Now I'm going to stake it down with these concrete stakes and some screws.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below.
I use concrete stakes at all four corners. Then I had a load of what's called around here crusher run delivered. It's almost a waste product of the gravel industry around here, and you can get it for almost free, plus the shipping cost. I thought, man, it's stupid, why am I spreading this by hand? Might as well use this machine. Crusher run is used in concrete jobs because it compacts really easy. Plus it's cheap, of course. Now some rebar. This is number 4 or 1/2-inch rebar. And these concrete squares are called dobies. Everything's ready, now it's time to pour some concrete.
I did another one of these before. But I'm no expert.
This guy was super helpful. He helped me when he really didn't have to. Previous times I've had concrete delivered, the guy just does as little as possible, but this guy, he really wanted to help. He told me he had started work at 11 o'clock the night before, and this was at 2 in the afternoon, so he's definitely a hard worker. This board I'm kneeling on forms the flat section that the cattle guard will sit on. He was such a hardcore concrete guy that he even had a concrete truck tattooed on his forearm. Definitely not beautiful finish work, but it'll do for what its role is. No wasted time. As soon as I'm done with one side, they drive the truck to the other. And here are the footings about 3 days later with the form stripped off. It's a lot of work that just now looks like a couple pieces of rock. I then had a load of road base delivered, so I could build the road up to the elevation of the forms and get the correct layer of material over that crusher run that I had put in earlier. Here you can see I'm spreading and building up the road base. So everything's ready, and it's finally time to put this cattle guard into its home. Max weight for this skid steer is about 3,700 pounds, and this cattle guard is pushing that pretty hard. You can see the front of the cattle guard still scraping the ground, and the back tires of the skid steer a couple inches off the ground. It's a good thing I don't have to go very far. I'm installing the cattle guard on day 5 after the concrete pour. I really should wait to day 7, but there's a big rainstorm coming in this night, so I had to get it in so we could get to our house. This skid steer was not the easiest thing to maneuver with all this weight way out front. The machine's like barely capable of handling this. I got out and did a visual check because I knew I really got one shot at this. The cattle guard was a couple inches off to one side, and I was trying to move it over, but it just wasn't happening. So I decided, oh well, we'll just drop it in and hope for the best. It ended up that moving it over a few inches was pretty easy. Off in the distance you can see the line of storms coming. I got this thing in just in time. You can see I got this ledge not quite perfectly level, but should work. Here's the thing all finished with the fence extended to the cattle guard and some side wings installed.
Thanks for watching this video on how to install and build a cattle guard. Hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please comment down below. Take care. God bless. Have a great day.